And then now we got Batman. We got Batman on Batman stuff. Now this is not the I mean, we've already heard Matt Reeves talk about Ben Affleck's Batman script before. We have. It's not the first time that we've heard this. So by no means, but apparently, he was on another little podcast thing and was talking about his Batman. And then, of course, it was brought up about Ben's Batman. And speaking of Ben, thank you, Mr. Ben Everett's right there for the $10 super chat. They're not going to remove her. She is very likely going to be downplayed and removed from the marketing. That's what see, we're on the same page, Ben. Very much on the same page. So we got this right here, which was floating around, and I was like, didn't we already hear about this? But apparently this a little bit new. So we got, we got Matt Reeves talking about Ben Affleck's Batman script again. So here's the quote right here. This time he was on Jeff Goldsmith's podcast. And it says, that Affleck's version could have been a very exciting movie. Of course it would have been. It would have been a very exciting movie. But we have this right here where it says the movie was originally going to be directed by Ben Affleck, which we know. And the script they sent me had been written by Ben, but rewritten by another very talented writer. I think we all know who that could possibly be. And when I read it, I was like, oh, I get it. It was a standalone Batman film that was centered on Ben's version of the character, but it was more action-driven than what I felt I could do. I didn't connect to the movie in terms of me as a filmmaker. It was very James Bondian. It was filled with a lot of set pieces. It could have been a very exciting movie for someone else to do, but it wasn't for me to do. Interestingly, I think Ben wasn't so sure he wanted to do it because he ultimately stepped away from doing Batman altogether. Probably because the choices in his life and at the time and what he wanted to do. I said, look, I think maybe I'm not the person for this. And I explained to them why I love this character. I told them that there have been so many great movies, but if I were to do this, I'd have to make it personal so that I understood what was going to do with it. And basically he just goes on by saying, so that I know where to put the camera, so that I know what to tell the actors, so that I know what the story should be, which all makes absolute sense. I respect the absolute shit out of Matt Reeves for not just fully, for reading Ben's script. I mean, we were all excited for it. We're like, oh my God. So Ben Affleck's Batman movie is going to be directed by the guy from Planet of the Apes. Holy shit, it's going to be great. But I respect the absolute shit out of him. He was like, you know what? This was Ben's vision. This is not what I would do with the character. So he turned it down. And we heard that before. He said it before too, where he flat out turned it down, gave his pitch, and then walked away, finished War of the Planet of the Apes, not thinking that Warner Brothers was actually going to call him up, but they did and said, how much time do you want, pretty much. And they gave him a lot of time. I just kind of wonder, when did Ben Affleck know that he wasn't going to actually do this or anything like that? I mean, we saw the tweet where he said, welcome to the Batcave, Matt Reeves. We heard him at Comic-Con where he said that he'd gladly play an ape for Matt Reeves. You just kind of wonder, was that just Ben Affleck playing the game? I think it kind of was. And he was already just kind of like, yep, not doing this movie, sadly, because we heard him talk about it and how a friend of his, which we all assume is Matt Damon or possibly his brother Casey, that said, if you do this movie, it will kill you. So he dropped out of it, obviously because of health reasons, mental health, all that stuff, which I commend the shit out of Ben Affleck for doing that too. As much as I want to see it, I would not want anything bad to happen to the man, obviously. That's why when I still see people doing the hashtag make the Batfleck movie, it's not that it's up, it's not trying to convince the studio. You actually would have to convince the man himself. And if you're going to try to convince the man himself, really think about that, because we know why he decided not to do it, because of his own health, okay, his own life, his sobriety, so it's like, you just gotta think about it. That's why I don't like seeing the make the Batfleck hashtag, and I don't use it because it was mainly up to the dude, and we've heard what he had to say about that. As much as I want to see it, and maybe eventually we could see it in some kind of form or some kind of something, which would be great. I mean, but you just got to respect the man and respect what he was going through while he was Batman. As great as it was, and he's still my favorite cinematic Batman, but guy went through some hell when it came to that. So, but I commend Matt Reeves for not taking on that and doing his very own version. And yeah, that's why Matt Reeves is awesome.